Welcome back. And so our first conversation is not an easy one to have, especially in the light of circumstances arising from the weekend where Nigeria's renowned author Chimamanda Adichie announced the tragic loss of her son after a procedure that, according to her media team, went wrong in a hospital in Lagos. Of course, the Lagos state government has initiated proceedings to see to the investigation of this particular incident. And as Jeffrey said earlier, other cases of alleged medical negligence have arisen with requests, to speak, just to ventilate and air their grievances. So how do we ensure that this does not repeat itself in the future? And of course, Nigerians can go to public and private health institutions and get their health care treatment without any fear. And joining us on this particular segment is Professor Francis Faduile. He's a former president, Nigeria Medical Association, who joins us virtually on the program. Professor Faduile, good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us on the program. You may need to unmute your microphone, sir, so that we can hear you.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me, and Happy New Year to all Nigerians.
All right. Let me start with a request that you clarify what usually is the standard operating procedure for the administration of propofol by an anesthesiologist, such that Nigerians can understand. Because what Chimamanda's media team is letting us know is that her son, Nnamdi Nkanu, was administered an excessive dose of propofol by the anesthesiologist.
Well, thank you very much. I must say I'm not a pathologist. I'm not an anesthesiologist, so I may not know the full level of the concentration or the dosage of propofol. However, it is important for us to know that at every instance, the doctors, that is the attending physician, has rules or regulations that are given to him or her in search of the dosage of drugs he uses. Sometimes some drugs have some hypersensitivity reactions, like we call idiosyncrasies, and they can react violently in such a way that it may not give the desired effect. So in this respect, it will be difficult for me to actually state the dosage of propofol for this boy. But many times they calculate it and they get the required dosage that is needed for a patient. And they do it on patient-by-patient basis.
So based on what we're being told, that a particular doctor admitted that the anesthesiologist may have admitted an excessive dose of propofol on the boy. Is that a form of admission of negligence, or perhaps they didn't abide by the standard operating rule in administering that particular aspect of the treatment?
Well, we have to be careful about what is said in the media and, again, what is the reality. I doubt if we have any doctors that can just come out and say that the concentration of a particular drug or the dosage of a particular drug may be higher. The usual thing is that we have a team of experts who investigates any of such mishap. And when they do that investigation, they interact with the officers concerned, and they will ask questions. If they are convinced in their investigation that the concentration used is higher than that for, or the dosage used is higher than that for that age, sex, and weight, yes, they will say this is not right. But usually scientists do not just use one person or one episode to make a generalized decision. Certainly, we have some cases in which absolutely the concentration of or the dosage of drugs used may be extremely high. And that one will also pass through the necessary investigation. But we have to let Nigerians know that the process of investigation and finding medical practitioners guilty is already established in the Constitution and in the professional guidelines of every doctor. And I want to plead that we should allow that process to come out with a position that everybody will be happy about.
So, Doctor, walk us, because one of the things, and I want you to speak to it broadly, we see what our doctors do outside the country. Traveling around, you see what Nigerian doctors can do. But the optics right now doesn't look too good. I know you're talking about generalization. That's why I started from the positive of the kinds of doctors we have here. So sometimes you wonder whether it's an environmental problem or whatever. But as a medical practitioner, without zooming into this case, as my first question, should we be concerned about the quality of doctors or the technical experts, what I mean, the anesthesiologists and all that we're raising in our healthcare institutions?
Well, thank you very much. There is this fallacy, unfortunately it affects life, but there is this fallacy about issues that are negative. Sometimes you have a plane accident and over 200 people or more die. In such instance, everybody in the world will be talking about it. But if you look at the total number of planes that fly every day, you know that that number, however big it is, if you compare it with the total number, sometimes you may say, well, it's not too negligible. It's not too high. However, a death of one person is 100% loss to that family. So in such regard, nobody wants any patient to die. And in this respect, every doctor or every medical practitioner really feel the loss, the grief of the loss of one of his patients. But in this regard, let me state that we have some drugs that when we use it, and it's not about the dosing, it's about the reaction of the body to it. For example, penicillin is a drug that a lot of us use. But the problem is we have some people, if they are injected right in front of that person who gave that injection, the patient will collapse and dies. We call it idiosyncrasies. We have some other drugs that will have this adverse reaction. But for anybody who looks at the situation at that time, will say something must have happened, either overdosage, either use of expired drug, or any other reasons can be adduced. However, what we want to plead with the public is that the profession is following proper regulation, that in case we have doctors or medical practitioners who had gone overboard, there is a process of putting them in the right position and dealing with such. And that is with the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria. If this is sent to the MDCN as it is, let me state one thing. The MDCN is a council that is actually to protect the public rather than a council to protect medical practitioners, because we must regulate our professional duties in such a way that the public can be comfortable with us. So The underlying thing we need to stress in this regard is that every case should be reported and let the proper process of investigation is done, and at the end of the day, everything will be laid bare to the public, and we'll know who is to be blamed and who has gone wrong in the process of the management of that patient. I'm a pathologist. I've seen cases in which a surgeon who wants to operate on the eye gave an injection and that patient dies immediately. It was a big issue, but when we did the autopsy, we found something different. And in this case, we have such that do occur. It can be 1 in 100,000, 1 in 10,000. And when it happens to, unfortunately, a family, that is 100% mortality. And it is really, really painful to lose a patient. But in this respect, I believe that we should allow the normal process to come through and let us see the outcome, let us hear the outcome from those investigations.
Doctor, my question was, I don't know whether you responded to it and I didn't pick it. Should we be concerned about the quality of personnel we have at our hospitals? That's my question.
I think I answered it, maybe in passing. Let me answer it now. Yes, we should be concerned because every profession has a process of ensuring that all professionals work within the professional ethics and professional duties. But I can tell you that we have 1,001 patients that doctors are seeing every day. And many of them are getting out and getting treated, well managed. We have some cases in which we have some medical mishap, or as we want to call it, negligence. And we have the system of picking those who are negligent and taking care of them. But in generality, I can tell you, doctors in Nigeria or Nigerian doctors are doing very well. We have other issues that may not make us work as effective as we believe we should in this country. But that is secondary. We are not discussing that. But I can tell you, we have thousands of patients coming to the hospital and they are well treated. But we have 1 or 2 cases where we have issues. And this is one of them that we have to look critically. How has this occurred?
You said earlier that as much as possible, we should leave this process to the institution that is mandated to carrying out investigation and putting in place punitive measures against medical practitioners that are found wanting. But in the past, there have been, and these reports abound in the mainstream media, there have been reports that the MDCN, that's the Medical Council, I can't immediately remember the entirety of the abbreviation now, but the MDCN only slams what seems to be suspension on erring medical practitioners, and these allows impunity to reign when there is no strong deterrent for medical practitioners that are found wanting. And many people have had their lives altered as a result of serious negligence on the part of of some medical practitioners. So how can the MDCN be further strengthened to carry out its functions in this regard?
Well, thank you very much. These are part of the issues that the Nigerian doctors, as in the association, has been battling with the government. For example, the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria has not been set in years, and it looks as if we have a profession that is not under any form of regulation. Once we have any of such cases, it goes to the Medical and Dental Council, where it is expected that we have the investigative team, committee that looks at that case, and if prima facie is confirmed, they will send it to the disciplinary committee. I had been in the Medical and Dental Disciplinary Committee, and I know that we have so many cases in which different levels of punishment has been given. I can reassure you that the Medical and Dental Council is doing what is necessary. And we have had cases in which a professor, sometimes somewhere in the south region, was suspended. That he had his name struck out of the medical register. We have some cases where some doctors, even in Lagos, run afoul of the ethics, and they were suspended. So I can tell you that the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, if given the necessary support base, they will do what is necessary, and it will strengthen the health profession or the medical practice in this country. But we need to call on the government. Why are you hesitating to set up that Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria? This is over 1 year. And why? What is the reason? There is no reason. If you look at it, almost all of the members who are there are statutory. And you just do not put it in place so that we can continue to have that. But secondly, it is important for our populace to know that there are different ways in which you can take charge of cases of medical negligence or medical mishap. Rather than going to media to do media trial, every profession has its own ethics and regulation. Let us follow the process. Sometimes it may be long or tortuous, but can you blame the populace? It is difficult because they have lost a loved one,
Prof,
and they are in deep grief. So I agree with them, but let us balance the
if I may come in there.
I think that is how to look at it.
If I may come in here, within the confines of what we currently have, while we wait for a proper constitution of an MDCN in a relevant area, within the confines of what we have, why do we see mere suspensions handed down to an erring medical practitioner who has altered the life of a patient who has now been confined to a wheelchair? Why are we seeing just suspension?
There are two levels of dealing with such. The first one is the civil part, which is done by the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria. The second part is the criminal part, which can be done by the law court. The usual thing is that if you have been found guilty by your colleagues, that is, those who populate the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, then you can now go to the law court to ask for further punishment if need be. But in this case, I must say that it is unfortunate that we are hearing here and there cases of medical negligence or medical mishap. But we must also know that while we are doing this, we have to find a way of dealing with doctors. And I must also ask the media that the Medical and Dental Disciplinary Committee meeting is an open place where you see how doctors are being grilled and how doctors are being put in the box for them to show what they have done. And these are things that the law has put in place to make populace or the people to have confidence in the health profession. But even with that, we have cases of medical negligence, medical mishap, even in the advanced country. We have had cases in which they will say, we have a particular doctor who has been injecting, who has killed so number. We have some doctors who have done. So it's not as if it is only seen in Nigeria. It is worldwide, but we must have a situation to reduce it to the barest minimum.
Doctor, the reason why we're asking, I think is very clear. These things happen all over the world. It's just that sometimes within our climate, the deterrent of bad behavior is not as effective as it should be. So my question, which will be the last wolf on this, will be, God forbid this happens, fatality or incapacitation of any form, what should be the next line of action for the patient or the patient's families in clear terms, and how quickly can they get justice?
Well, how quickly they can get justice, I will not be able to state that, but I believe that once it is done early, they will be able to get justice. However, In clear terms, if you have such cases, you get all your records and send it to the Medical and Dental Council through an affidavit. Once you send your affidavit, it gets to them. The Medical and Dental Council, within a short period, maybe maximum of 2 weeks, they will have the investigative team to go and investigate that case. And the usual thing is that if in their investigation they have found that the medical practitioner involved has a prima facie case to answer, that from then that medical practitioner is suspended until that case is totally reviewed. And after that, they will send it to the disciplinary committee that sits once every 3 months maximum. And all the cases will be sent to the disciplinary committee that listen to all of them and give appropriate punishment. We have some cases that after the medical and dental disciplinary committee has given those appropriate punishment, the patient now, if he feels that he has to get more than the suspension, removal, they reprimand the doctor, they suspend him, or they struck out his name from the registrar. If he needs further relief, he can use that conviction to the court to now go and push for further punitive actions. And I think that is the proper process that are usually done. And this is about the same all through the world.
And as we keep expanding the subject, there are so many other areas, involved that we can explore. But we must anchor at this point in time, and we hope that, justice comes the way of all concerned, not just our renowned author Chimamanda Adichie, but others who have been affected and have lost a loved one or have lost a limb or any part of their lives altered as a result of medical negligence. We must thank you very much for bringing your professional expertise to bear on this subject. We've been talking with Professor Francis Faduile, former president, Nigeria Medical Association. Thank you for coming through on this one.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Have a good day.
And you too, sir. And we'll take a moment now. When we return, we'll speak with residents of Makoko community to find out how they're doing and how the demolitions have impacted on their infrastructure. So stay with us, we'll be right back.